I don't know, Jeff, has it? I must have missed that.
Welcome back to Commentary Box Podcast. My name's Arj, and today we have Kieran back with us. He was on the he was on the podcast when we spoke about the European Championships this summer and the England squads. Now today we have another issue about UEFA as such, European football. It's caused quite a bit of a roller coaster of emotions this week, hasn't it? We started off with Sunday being what I'd call quite bad news. Going on to, I think it was late Monday, Tuesday, where it was all saved again. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the last week alone?
It's God, when that news rolled through on Sunday, I couldn't tell if they were serious. I thought it was a joke, like someone had rolled out some crappy meme or whatever about it. I couldn't believe they'd actually followed through on doing it, and God, I think that the outrage that we saw from the public on it was totally justified. The audacity, really, to rip up European sport, essentially European culture.
Yeah.
Disgusting, honestly, disgusting.
It is horrible, and you know what? Like, there's just no words. Like, to be honest, I didn't want to believe it because I always thought it's the middle of the season. Firstly, right? Yeah. We're still 6, 7, about 10 games of the overall English football season to go.
Yep. Yeah.
How the hell are they doing that mid-season?
Honestly,
as well as I don't think I'd have been able to believe it until it had happened and it had been announced for the first game was going to be this game, or
right.
So it's sort of a hard thing to believe, but it was great to see that so many fans and clubs, even players like Luke Shaw and Patrick Bamford, who came out and spoke about it. And then, obviously, the big interview with Jurgen Klopp on Monday Night Football.
Oh, God, yeah. No, he did fantastically in that. It was great to see everyone speaking out, yeah. And Gundogan recently as well spoke out about it.
Well, he's also spoken out about the new Champions League format, which we'll get onto in a bit.
Yes.
Which, has caused mixed opinions as well. I think it's not as drastic as the Super League. But
no, it ultimately has a lot of the same values attributed to it that the Super League's trying to push out there.
Yeah.
It's the lesser of the two evils, we'll say
that.
But
if you could, I mean, we weren't around at this point, but if you cast yourself back to the 90s where the Premier League came into existence, a similar thing happened there where they reduced the number of teams in the top division, and it wasn't necessarily part of the classic football league anymore.
Yeah.
But that has sort of become a new culture in football. The European Super League might have become a new culture, but you just didn't want to see it because I feel like it would have ruined each country's domestic football.
Yeah, it would have. It's the removal of sporting merit was the real sticking point. Like in Europe, where there are such a rich diversity of teams, and there's thousands in the English football pyramid, to suddenly say, you know what, no one apart from these 15 across Europe anymore can actually reach any heights and compete properly is ridiculous. And the fact that these 6 English teams decided it would be them based on what feels like nothing more than turnover is insane to me. It's insane to me. It's spit in the face, I think it was called, and I fully agree.
Well, I had this conversation with my dad, who's a West Ham fan, and obviously West Ham having a great season this year. And in my honest opinion, if next season Arsenal were playing in the top tier of the top European competition over a team like West Ham or Leicester, I would feel quite embarrassed for my own club.
You would get embarrassed as well, to be honest with you, up there.
Yeah,
God,
exactly.
that Arsenal team up against Bayern Munich every week. Shocking. You don't deserve to be there simply because of your name.
No.
It can't be the way you decide football. Like, Spurs being there as well. What the fuck have they won? What have they won?
It's not even that. It's I think it's more about marketability.
Yeah, that's the sole reason.
You're considering all the teams that have, so City and Chelsea, who have pretty much come up in the last 10 years for City and 20 for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, out of the 6 teams, the only 3 teams with like some form of history are United, Liverpool, and Arsenal barely fill that category, right? But United and Liverpool are the 2 sort of standout teams in terms of history in English football.
Yeah.
There are others that aren't at the top of their game anymore, but those 2 in the current sort of top 7 or 8 now in the Premier League, if you want to call it that. It's just absurd to think. I make the big bucks in England. AC Milan haven't done anything for the last 15 years since, the days of Ronaldinho and Kaká. Why the hell are they in it? Porto, again, they've won one Champions League in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, what's it? PSG only recently relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the fact of the matter is, we're talking about the history of these clubs, but they've garnered this history through cycles and years of putting in the effort to get there, right? So surely they should. You'd think that owners would have some sort of appreciation of that and understand that that's what makes the sport special as well,
But I guess you take that, and a lot of the clubs currently are, the owners like Abramovich and the Man City owners have literally taken their teams, and it's so recent that there's not been 40 years of building up to it. Like you take Leicester, who have been up and down, and I feel like now they're building a model of a football club which can be sustainable at the top of the league and at the top of English football.
Yeah, and they should be given the opportunity to carry that on, and siphoning off all this money, which it is what it is. They're literally siphoning off the money and restricting it to those 6. It doesn't allow that to happen anymore. And what's the point in sport if you can't believe that one of these minnows are going to come up one day and fight it out with the big guns? Like,
well, you take that, you can have a team from, technically you can have a team from, if you take 3rd round of the FA Cup on, like a League One team or Championship team playing in the Europa League in the following season. They could be in League One or League Two and be playing in the Europa League. So, that is how English football is, especially. I'm not too clued up on, the technicalities of Spanish and German and French football. Yeah. But in English football, there is an opportunity for 4 tiers. 4 tiers of English football technically to be part of bigger tournaments. And saying that, right, like a lot of the arguments behind the ESL were you get to watch incredible games week in, week out. Yeah. Now, for me, I'd much rather watch an incredible game once a month than every other week or every week, right? Especially if there is, if the ESL did go on, there'd be about 6 or 7 games each week of top teams, right? Yeah. Whereas, what one do you pay attention to at that point?
Yeah. I get that. It's. I guess it's a similar situation to what we see in the Champions League sometimes, say at the quarterfinal stage. have 2 or 3 games going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's the
And
quarterfinals. That's not week in, week out.
that's not week in, week out. You're very right.
It's like last week, the week before, we saw City, Dortmund, and Madrid versus Liverpool on the same night.
Yeah.
You know, both were incredible games. You didn't know which one to watch. I was switching over channels every 2 minutes, trying to get the best of both action. Imagine doing that every week.
Yeah.
It'd just get a bit boring.
It would. It's like having Christmas every Friday, isn't it? It's yeah. The special side of it is that these big games come around every so often. That's what it builds up the hype for them. You want to go and see them, and they're great for that evening. If you're having it every week as well, and you have such a saturation, you're gonna get tired of it. Like no one's gonna be that interested in it for that long.
No.
God, like maybe the first year would be kind of cool. The next year, oh cool, we're seeing the same games again. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that point, so we've spoken about the owners. It had a fairly big impact on them. A couple of them came out and said, they were wrong for doing that. I know the Liverpool owner did.
God, did you watch his video?
No.
Oh,
comical.
It was shocking. Like they've obviously paid some intern to come and write this, and it's the most horrific acting performance I've ever seen. The man's a robot with flesh on him. It's just shocking.
Yeah.
But at least he apologized or attempted to apologize.
Yeah, you're not getting that out of Stan Kroenke.
No.
The guy's probably just shifted all of the revenue he's got in the last month from Arsenal into that LA Rams team in America. Or for another ranch. So he lost one of those.
Kroenke does not care. He does not care one bit about Arsenal.
No.
Yeah, at least the Arsenal media team came out and tweeted sorry. There was something there.
Yeah, that is shocking.
I read the United statement, the Man United statement, and the closest they got to an apology was "we got it wrong." I'm just like, okay,
yeah, exactly. They acknowledge that, and I feel like the only person that's come out of this in a bad way is Ed Woodward.
He's the only one that's faced consequences so far. Yeah. Oh, but bloody deserved. My God.
But what do you make? What do you make of that? Because I know in the news the day after he resigned, or it was probably a force. Like he was probably forced out, but the day after he resigned, they came out and said he was planning to resign at the end of the season anyway. And I think that's just a sort of way to shove it off, and
I feel like that's a mild cop out. I mean, for some history on Ed Woodward, from what I know, he used to work for Forbes, and the big banks back in the day, and then he joined United, did whatever, and now the Super League was going to be funded by the big banks and all of his old mates. Yeah. So, I imagine if the Super League had gone through, if the rumors are true and he was going to step down at the end of the year, it'd probably be to take over as a big leader of the ESL group, right? But God, seeing him go, it brings a smile to my face. That man should not have been in charge of a football club and the footballing side of things. He's a businessman at the end of the day. That's it.
I have a question though. How, I don't know too much about United and their infrastructure. How much of a say did he have in things? Because we're now past the times of, for example, the Arsene Wenger Ferguson periods where those two guys had such a big say in how the football club was run.
Yeah.
And now everything is a director of football or the chairman or the board.
Yeah.
So what impact did Woodward have?
I mean, not sure. A lot of the stuff that, again, I have heard on it is mostly like anecdotal pieces in various different papers and on like The Athletic and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But from what it seemed like, he had a major hold over the transfers at minimum, and a very disconnected. And you could see it like you could see it was a businessman running our transfers from the early days.
Yeah.
Like, God, the first transfer window, the only one he managed to bring in was bloody Marouane Fellaini for more money than he would have if he did it 2 weeks earlier. And then the next year, for whatever reason, he decided to go all in on the Man United mini Galacticos. So it shows he was inconsistent in his approach. He's never been a football man. He's a businessman. I think in more recent years, people have taken that over. Like, there was a transfer committee put in place, and earlier this season we did have a director of football put in. I forget his name, which is really bad, but we do now have a director of football. But you'll hear stories about him where, you know, despite having an obvious influence over the football side and bringing in players and making decisions on management, no one seemed to really like him either at the club. Like, surely if you're working that closely with the players and you want to have some sort of managerial role over them, you want them to at least like you. Like, I read a story recently where he texted Wayne Rooney after he bagged a goal, and helped. I think it was the FA Cup. Yeah, the FA Cup. The same day he sacked Van Gaal, and like went to him like, "Oh, was a great goal," and all that. And Wayne Rooney said, like, "I've never spoken to him face to face properly. Why the fuck is he? Why is he texting me?"
I think Neville had the same opinions of him, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Gary Neville, and those guys have played for United for a lot of years, a lot of years, and
a lot of years. Yeah.
Yeah, when you have someone running a club, and you don't know him or you don't have good opinions of him, it doesn't seem great. It can't relay well onto the fans, and it clearly hasn't. It really hasn't. Every United fan I know hates the living hell out of that guy.
Him and the Glazers. I mean, yeah, he's a great businessman. The number, if you could evaluate a club in the number of sponsorships, we'd be top of every league table that there is and bringing in all the trophies. But you got to do something on the pitch, and Woodward had no clue how to do that. He was in there for the bottom line.
But again, you do need it. Like, in some instances that may work really well, and you don't know how well it worked because United have so much pulling power anyway because of the name of the club. Yeah. The history of the club and the success. That a lot of those things may have happened anyway. Yeah. The signing of certain players, the negotiating contracts and sponsorships, that sort of stuff may have happened anyway.
You're not wrong.
You don't know how much of an impact he genuinely had.
And I know he scuppered a few things actually, like when we were interviewing for managers following either Fergie or Moyes. I think it was Moyes. Like Klopp came out and said like he had an interview with Woodward, and Woodward was calling Man United the Disneyland of football and everything. And Klopp had spoken previously about how much he liked United and like his praise for the club, and apparently that turned him off. So
I don't know if you've heard about there were rumours, I don't know how long ago, but they were trying to make the surrounding areas of Old Trafford, they were trying to make it into Manchester United world.
Oh, that pains me. Oh, that's that's rough. Okay.
I saw it a couple of days ago, and they were showing all like the plans and things around it and the potential behind it.
What are they're going to put in like rides and stuff? Like what were the plans? Oh, that's disgusting.
I'm not sure, but like it probably would have just been a museum, right, or something like that.
But the roof in Old Trafford is still leaking, and it's the stands are rusty. Why invest? Like there was I think a game got delayed last year because the rain was so bad and the roof was so poor.
you consider now against the so-called top six that we've been talking about, Old Trafford is so far behind all the other stadiums where, Liverpool have currently got plans to renovate and, regenerate whole stands. Arsenal have had a new stadium in the last 15 years. Tottenham have a brand new stadium. Chelsea, are they in the plans or?
Yeah, they have
in the works.
Oh God, I feel like there was one near Battersea that they were doing something like that. Yeah. I don't know if that was finalised or not. But
and Man City have a pretty brand new stadium.
Yeah, the Etihad's not old.
And so again, United are falling behind on that side, but they've rejuvenated and they're up there now. They are.
The football's better, thank God.
That may just be because. I mean, no, you've got to give them credit where credit's due, and United have been fairly good this season.
Yeah.
Consistent. I think that's what it is. Over the last 5 seasons, United have been good, but just really inconsistent. And that's the downfall, but that's going aside from what we were talking about with how the clubs run.
How the clubs run.
And realistically, a club that size should never fall sort of down the drain where United did for 5 to 10 seasons potentially after Ferguson.
Yeah. I mean, the mismanagement on the pitch. It's obvious they had the wrong man in charge from the very top to right the ship since David Gill left. David Gill and Ferguson. It showed. Like, sure, he turned it around somewhat in the past few years. But that's not his own doing. That was him probably taking a step back, to be honest with you, and getting, you have Fletcher in there now, a fair few other of the old names on the board.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing, right? Like, someone who's in that position should have knowledge of football itself, because at the end of the day, the level of football, qualifying for Champions League or finishing higher up in the league inevitably gets you more revenue as well. Yeah. And so, signings like, managers like Van Gaal and Mourinho were so complete opposites to Ferguson and the model that United had built previously that it just didn't make sense. Like,
none of it made sense. None of it really made sense from the start, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know what they were doing.
You take, in my opinion, Arsenal have tried to implement that where, consistently we've hired managers that want to play football, right? Which is what Wenger did for many years. Mm-hmm. It's not been executed very well, but the idea is there. We've not brought in a manager like Mourinho who's there to win a title for a year or two by playing defensive football. It's sort of continuing a brand as such. Yeah. Although a very bad one at the moment.
A very bad one.
Yeah.
God, I think, each manager we've had has been such a change from the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Moyes, God knows what the hell he was trying to do. He was just out of his depth.
Yeah.
Van Gaal came in, possession-based system, slow, rely on the youth. Boring as hell to watch, but you could see he was doing something, and he bled in some good youngsters.
Yeah.
Then Mourinho, complete change. Like, youngsters, who the hell are those? Bring me the big names. We're going to sit back.
Old guys, the ones that are over 30 years, like 33, 34.
Exactly. Ship out all the youngsters. I hate the lot of them. Sit back, defensive, slow football again. Lethargic football, I should say, rather. And then then Ollie comes in, and he's a bit of a throwback to 90s football, I'd say. Counterattacks and that sort of thing. But every single one has been different. And again, at least we have an identity now, somewhat.
Yeah. You're building towards that, anyway.
We're building towards that. But again, I don't think that's because of Ed Woodward. I think that's in spite of him and as a result of him stepping away from those kind of duties. he was there as the Glazers man to make them money, and that's what he's done over his entire tenure. That's it. Like, year on year he did just enough. Well, every other year almost he did just enough to get us into the Champions League.
Yeah.
And then that was it for them. They got their big payouts from the sponsors. They took fat dividends, didn't put any money into the company, into the club even. Fuck me, they got me saying company as well now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've made you feel like it is a company.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of football clubs have done that now.
Yeah.
It's for them it's a business.
It is a business.
And to be fair, if you're a businessman, like at that level, you're just looking for returns, aren't you?
You are looking for returns. And
So.
I think football clubs are great for a businessman. Like, you're going to get fans that will come to the stadium every single week and they will buy all the merch.
Mm-hmm.
They're passionate. Like, you can do whatever, and they pretty much did whatever and didn't piss anyone off too much.
Well, I saw a video the other day of Tottenham fans protesting because of ESL.
Yeah.
And outside the stadium, right? And there's just a whole load of group of guys with, the Tottenham merchandise bags that you get once you've gone into the shop and bought something. Yeah. And this guy walks around and starts shouting at all of them because the two things make completely no sense. Like, one, you're paying into the owner's pockets. Yeah. And the other one, you're protesting against it.
Yeah. But, no, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. No, you carry on. I'll just cut you off.
No, money has gone into football. Football has gone into sort of money mattering a lot.
A lot. A hell of a lot. It's become, ever since the 90s. Like, post-Thatcherism and all the stuff that brought with the Premier League, and it's been bubbling for a long time, this. But yeah. What I was gonna say is that that's why I find like shirt burning really funny. You bought the shirt. You spent 50, 60 quid on it. They don't care. Do what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is true. I don't get people who burn their shirts.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense. Well, this is for a moment for my awesome segue. Yeah. And talking about money in football, UEFA have done the exact thing.
Yes.
They've gone and made a 32-team Champions League into now a 36-team Champions League. So this is just to explain to the listeners and you. This is due to start in the 2024-25 season. So still about three and a half years to go. And this will work for the Europa League so it will be the Champions League, the Europa League, and the new Europa League conference, which is starting this season.
Oh, right. Okay. I don't know.
So it's Europa League 2.
Europa League 2. Okay.
Which, okay,
right.
I always thought Europe would have been for more the elite. It's an elite competition, or it's supposed to be.
Yeah. It should be.
You've got to earn it to get there, but so let's take the Champions League. So the Champions League will have 36 teams. So currently in the group stages, you play each team 3 times. You play 3 teams twice, home and away. So what they're doing now is all 36 teams are going to be part of one group.
Right.
One big group, and you play 10 different teams. So 5 of them will be home, 5 will be away, but you're playing 10 completely different teams. Which UEFA have actually claimed that more of the top teams will go head-to-head in the group stages, so essentially from earlier stages. Then out of those 36 teams, the top 8 will advance to automatically straight through to the round of 16. And then the teams from 9th to 24th will play a knockout round, a playoff round. So 9th will play 24th, 10th, 23rd, etc. And the 8 teams who lose then go on to play they join the Europa League, I believe.
Right. Okay.
So, and then from then on, it's the standard round of 16, quarters, semis, final. Yeah. But yeah, it essentially means extra games in the Champions League, not just for the teams, but for TV and money and right.
It's
so
God. Again, like you said, it's for money. It's for money.
yeah,
Like if you listen to Pep or Klopp over the past year, 2,
mhm,
3 years, all they've said is we want more of a break.
yeah,
They don't want more. They don't want more games.
no,
Yeah,
and you know what? So yeah, that adds extra games. So that means players will potentially against the weaker teams in the domestic leagues will be rested, which means that essentially what UEFA are saying is prioritize the Champions League way over your domestic league.
Yeah.
Which is similar to the ESL at that point.
It is.
In
It
the mindset
really is.
behind it.
Yeah.
Then, in my opinion, this is a huge advantage to the bigger teams.
Yeah.
Like, hugely. Firstly, bigger teams have bigger squads and better quality squads.
Mm-hmm.
So it just allows them to be more competitive across the board.
Yeah.
But if you consider, right, that in a group of 4, you can be technically the third best team and you can sneak, 2 or 3 wins in a group stage, maybe 2 wins and 2 draws, and you can finish in the top 2 and automatically qualify for the round of 16.
Yeah.
Whereas now, a team that's weaker could potentially play 5 seed 1 teams.
Yeah.
And
have no chance.
Yeah, no chance. So, again, they're putting all the power into the big team's favour.
Yeah.
It just doesn't sit right, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's this idea that people want to see more of the big games is something that Perez put forward as well with the Super League and the whole idea that young people aren't watching anymore as well. So this is where it's coming from. Number one, that phrase, that saying young people aren't watching anymore is, I'd love to know where he got that information from in the first place. Like,
I mean,
maybe they're not watching TV.
Yeah, football's the biggest worldwide sport.
Yeah, it's you can't get much more popular.
No, there are people in every corner of the globe who watch football, who love football. You take the whole of South America, even now North America. Football's becoming bigger there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then every other part of the world, football is huge.
Yeah. You go anywhere, you flash an Arsenal badge, a Man United badge in India. Everyone knows what that is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very odd statement. But God, sure, maybe TV watching is declining, but that's because it's 80 quid a month or something.
Yeah.
30 quid a month, even 80 quid's a bit much. Yeah, 30 quid a month for Sky and BT. What can you afford that?
Again, no. Look, right.
Yeah.
You're now having to, if you want to genuinely watch every Premier League game.
Yeah.
Right, you can watch all the games on BBC for free, but now you have them broadcasting it on Sky, on BT, on Amazon Prime. Now, imagine paying for all 3 of those things, right?
God,
it's not becoming accessible for the general person.
Yeah.
Then even ticket prices at stadiums are becoming inaccessible.
Yeah.
For me, this is a complete different story, topic of conversation, because there's so much to go into in terms of keeping youth into football. But there's one thing that doesn't change is if you enjoy football, you enjoy playing football as well.
Yeah.
Especially as a young kid. So to have that sort of idea that football is declining in the world is ridiculous.
It is. It really, really is. It really is.
Maybe people. Yeah. You can say the era of Ronaldo and Messi is done now, and people idolize those guys, right? But you have a new generation come through. Your Neymars, Mbappe's, your Haalands. There's so many players now that people look up to.
Yeah.
The
next generation of superstars, the people
exactly.
That
exactly. Like if you take it back 20 years, where not everyone had access to FIFA. Now literally every 7, 8, 9, 10 plus year old has
Yeah.
FIFA, and they know way more than I would.
Yeah. Exactly.
Players in the Turkish league or the
Yeah.
second German league, and
Yeah.
football is not declining in any
Absolutely.
form,
Absolutely
right?
not.
But changes like this, I feel, will detract people.
It will. It will. I agree. Like, who wants to? I've heard who wants to see the same teams playing again and again. Like,
Yeah.
I remember even a few years ago when it was Real Madrid reaching every final, people were getting a little bit bored.
Yeah.
Like, no one wants to see the same fixture played over and over again. Variety is the spice of life, man. That's the same thing with football. Like, I want to see, Wigan somehow manage to make it into the Europa League, and
or Fulham win the Europa League.
Fulham win the Europa League. God, I wish that did happen.
Didn't they get to was it the final? They got to the final years ago.
Got beat by Atletico Madrid, I think.
Was it? It was one of the Spanish teams.
It was one of the Spanish. It was either Atletico Madrid or Bilbao. I feel like it was Madrid when they had like Forlan.
I think it might have been Bilbao, but
yeah. Oh, okay.
I can't remember.
I don't know. Yeah. I want to see, what's it? AC Milan playing at Portsmouth. Something stupid like that. It's just like, that's a lot more special than watching Real Madrid and like Bayern play every other week. I could care less.
Well, yeah, exactly. And in terms of this new format, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of against the fact that it's growing. But I'm also, even with the current Champions League format, there's 32 teams, but you could say about 10 to 12 of them are completely unable to compete, right? So I'll give you a few stats. So from 2016-17, so the amount of teams in the Champions League group stages with 0 wins in the group stage. So in 2016-17 there were 7 teams. In 17-18 there were also 7. In 18-19, 19-20 and this season as well, there were 5 teams in the group stages that had 0 wins. And over the last 10 years, the average is 5.1 teams, right? So 5 teams on average minimum that aren't winning any points. And then I'd say about 50% of them are only winning one game max.
Right.
So there's so many teams that are unable to compete. Yet, for me, so if you take this season, you had the likes of Arsenal, Tottenham, Roma, Napoli in the Europa League. You had last season you had United, who were in the Europa League. The season before, Chelsea. The season before that, United on Arsenal, Sevilla. And then you're getting teams from Azerbaijan who are in the Champions League. And I don't know, there's a part of me that's saying, yes, it is good to see those smaller teams. And fair enough, the wealth within European football is distributed across many different leagues and to many different teams. But as an elite competition, I would love to see maybe the top 25 teams in Europe be in the, if you're, say, like, for me, England should have a higher quota of teams in the Champions League.
Right.
4 is quite small.
Yeah.
Where you compare the next 4 so from 5th to 8th in the Premier League are probably as good as,
anyone in Italy.
Anyone in Italy, or you take 3rd, 4th, 5th in Germany. 8th place is probably as good as maybe 4th in Germany.
Right. Yeah.
So that to me doesn't necessarily work, and I don't know. I would potentially propose maybe a top 25 or a top 26, and the other 6 are formed through the knockouts and the playoffs.
Okay.
But for me, there is that sort of issue where the best teams aren't playing in the Champions League.
It can come I get what you're saying. Like, the Europa League has often been full of much better teams at certain stages. But the question comes, how number one, how do you distinguish who these
Yeah.
top teams are year on year? And also, will it be worth taking these smaller teams out when, a lot of the time the Champions League, getting into it and playing against some of the bigger sides, not only is it, a huge story for some of these teams and probably one of the biggest games that they'll ever face, but financially it's a lifeline for them.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe that's what the Super League was trying to say, like, if we're able to play the bigger games, we'll attract more people in, and then we can filter money down further. Yeah,
with the Super League though, they were trying to do it with 15 teams
flat
max, right? And and there are more than 15 quality teams in Europe
who deserve to play in the elite competition.
Exactly. And I guess that's what it is, right? Like, West Ham this season could potentially miss out. Liverpool could miss out on the Champions League this season, right? And they were the Premier League winners last year, and they won the Champions League twice in the last couple. Well, they won the Champions League a couple of years ago as well. So it's a tricky one because, of course, UEFA are probably trying to spread the wealth, and to be honest, spreading wealth will generate countries, football systems wealth in other countries as well. So, for example, even when Baku that had the Europa League final and the Champions League final. Those, that really helps those countries' football systems.
It does.
But
shining that spotlight,
it does. But then, are we then saying money's worth more than, merit and also the quality of football and the potential quality?
The potential quality,
there's a payoff.
There's a payoff, I think, you remove some of the romanticism, within football if you go down that route where it's always the biggest teams every single time.
Yeah,
like you want to see again, like I've said, you want to see the underdog pull off an upset.
Yeah.
More than you want to see the big teams.
But you say that, right? Yeah, you say that. We get upsets in the Premier League. We've had one in a number of years with Leicester. But then in like domestic competitions, you get upsets with like. You take your FA Cups and your Carabao Cups. You can get upsets
all the time.
But when was the last time there has been a major upset in terms of winning the Champions League?
Yeah, I mean the last one I can think of is Chelsea.
Porto.
Chelsea,
but Chelsea are a fairly big club.
Okay, yeah.
And at that time they had a great team.
Yeah,
with the Lampards and Drogba's and.
Yeah, no, I can see that they were by far the underdogs out of the four semi-finalists, but it's still, like you're saying, a big team. It's not like Karabakh making it all the way through, or Apoel or one of them.
Technically, Tottenham were huge underdogs when they got to that final.
Oh God, yeah.
So that I mean, and Ajax a couple of years ago as well got to the semis.
Yeah.
So it does happen, but I just don't think it happens enough. Which is strange. Which is strange to say because we're talking about an underdog story, and an underdog story should be once every so often, but not too often.
That's what makes it an underdog at the end of the day. The fact that it doesn't happen. No, I understand that. But removing the sheer, even the possibility of it happening. Yeah, I don't know. It takes something out of the game. It's a tough thing to manage. Still balancing it.
What would you, if you had one change to make with the current Champions League system? What would you change?
I'd reduce the number of teams in the group stage. I think I'd have groups of 3. at that point.
Really? And then what?
Yeah.
2 go through?
2 go through. The top 2 go through.
So
Yeah.
are you reducing the amount of teams in the Champions League total? Or
I think you'd end up having to. As much as it pains me to say, I think having higher quality games and fewer of them are more beneficial for the game, because then you're able to give these players a rest, and they're able to perform at this highest level in every competition, which is what, as a fan, you want to see.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to see. Yeah, sure. I mean, City can put out 2 different starting 11s if they're playing at the weekend and playing in the weekday, but a lot of clubs still can't.
No.
So no, reducing the number of games, I think, would make it a higher quality sort of competition.
Well,
What about
UEFA went for the complete opposite stance, didn't they?
God, yeah.
We'll add some more teams. Why
Yeah.
not? Make it even harder for the smaller teams to win.
Yeah. I mean, it's I get the idea. More games, you're able to take in more revenue, but look at the NBA season. It's 80 games for a regular season per team. Who watches all of them?
No.
Yeah. Who cares? No one wants to watch all of them.
That's the issue with American sport. Well, especially with basketball and baseball. They have so many games that if you look at an MLB game, right?
Yeah.
Half the times the stadiums are empty.
Yeah.
And you think, have fewer games, maybe make them sort of more of a showing. I feel like they get it wrong in terms of fan interaction.
They do.
Aside from maybe the NFL, because that's such a short season in terms of the 12-month calendar year.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's the right number of months in the calendar year. Yeah.
But yeah, you asked what would I change with the Champions League. It is a tough one, but I'd change the pot system.
Oh right, how would you mix up?
I think so. You know how they've got it currently as the winner of the leagues going to pot 1, and then it's your European coefficient that gets you into pot 2, 3, 4.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it should be like that. It should just be in terms of if you finish first, you're in pot 1, finish second, pot 2. Obviously, some leagues don't get 4 spots.
They're going to get 4 spots, yeah.
But then maybe the rest of the 4 go in like other teams that come through qualification.
Okay, no, yeah, I back that. I think that'll add a little bit of chaos as well to it all.
Yeah.
Which is, you can have, okay.
Well, you could potentially get a team like Liverpool who finished 4th this year. Yeah. Playing, being in the same group as,
Barca and
multiple big teams as well.
Yeah.
And that would even it out in the sense where the big teams may not have the easiest route through.
Yeah.
You're potentially eliminating a big team in the group stages.
Which is, you're going to get more eyes on that and more interest in it, I think, than, kind of expecting to see the same 10 teams go through every single time. Like,
yeah.
I back that. I think a bit of chaos is, again, variety, spice of life.
Exactly. And I think on that point, variety and spice of life.
Yeah.
I'll be glad to say that this week has started poorly and ended well.
Yeah.
In the world of football.
Still work to be done.
Work to be done, but it's ended brightly.
Yes.
Final question: should those English teams be punished?
Absolutely. No doubt. I think at minimum, I personally back the 50+1 rule, and I wouldn't mind if all the teams got deducted points.
Yeah.
I
mean, it happens to other teams. That have had ownership issues. So
is this not an ownership issue? This is an ownership issue in the same sort of way. Yeah, deduct points. Like, fuck it. If all 6 end up in the championship next season, it could be quite entertaining. So
well, there you go. That's Kieran's opinions.
Yeah,
those are our thoughts on European football.
Yeah,
for the long term, hopefully it stays as similar as it is now. Any last thoughts?
Glazers out.
Yeah, Cronky out. There we go.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Kieran.
Yes, mate. Thank you.
And make sure you guys subscribe.
Yes.
Check us out we're on Spotify, Apple, YouTube.